This week's grammar topic is direct quotations. And you will notice I am using Microsoft Word instead of the usual Notepad. The reason, I'll show you the reason. Notepad, okay. So the reason I'm not using Notepad is because of the quotation mark. In Notepad, the quotation mark looks like this. Can you see that? It's straight. But in Microsoft Word, the quotation mark looks like this. It's curved. These are the proper quotation marks. The straight quotation marks are not actually quotation marks. It's just easier for the computer to render. These marks are for measurement. So the straight quotations, one is English feet, 英尺, or arc minutes, so angles, right? 360 degrees. Each degree has 60 minutes. Each arc minute has 60 seconds. So one straight mark is feet and arc minutes, and then two straight marks are inches, 英寸, or arc seconds. These are measurement symbols. They are not actually quotation marks. So in order to show you the actual quotation marks, we're using Microsoft Word. Okay, every quotation has two parts. The first part is what is said, the quotation itself. The second part is the speech tag, the person saying the thing. Sometimes the verb will be different, right? Reply is also a kind of speaking. The principle here is your verb must have a kind of sound. It must be a way of talking. So you cannot say something like, he smiled. This is wrong because smiling does not involve talking. But you could, if you wanted to, use sing, right? Singing also involves words. Some cases are borderline. Like some people think it's okay. Some people think it's not okay. For example, laugh. Can you talk while you laugh? Some people say yes. Some people say no. So this depends on the situation. It depends on who your teacher is. It depends on, if in the future, it depends on who your editor is. But the basic idea is the verb has to be some kind of talking or communication. So like there are so many of these verbs, right? We use the word say, shout, cry. Cry does not mean tears. Cry means shout. Groan, murmur, whisper, yell, complain, report, state, assert, argue, recount, which means to say again, repeat, summarize, any kind of speech verb you can use as a speech tag. Now, sometimes in the middle of a conversation, if you already know who is talking, so in this scene, it's a guy and a girl, right? There's only two people. Then you can omit the speech tag. And this happens a lot in novels. In a dialogue scene, um, the first one, so the first time a character talks, you will have a speech tag so that we know which one is which person. But if there's only two people and they go back and forth, then each new line is another person, right? So the first line is the girl, the second line is the boy, and then the third line is the girl, fourth line is the boy. So this line, you don't need to add the speech tag, yet we still know that it's the girl. And then line 6, of course, is the boy. So this is why sometimes you will see quotations without speech tags. Okay. Um, so yes, not only say, right? You can also use words related to ask. Asked, questioned, inquired, um, other words like observed, mentioned. There are so many speech words that you can use depending on the situation. Okay, so that's the speech tag. Now let's talk about the uh, quotation itself. The examples I'm showing you are all complete sentences. And so, of course, you begin a complete sentence with a capital letter and you end it with a punctuation. What about this? In this context, this is also a complete sentence. The guy is answering the question. But you'll notice that the ending punctuation is a comma. Shouldn't this be a period? Yes. But um, in English, if the end of your quotation is not the end of your sentence, we always change the period to a comma. This is the whole sentence. So the end of the quotation is not the end of the sentence. Therefore, we change this period to a comma. Now, you'll also notice that the comma is inside the quotation mark. This is the rule for American English commas in quotations. If your final punctuation mark in a quotation is a comma, American English will make you put the comma inside the quotation mark. If you are using British English, the comma will always go outside the quotation mark. This has nothing to do with logic. It is purely something that people have agreed to do. So we're learning American English. We're going to put it inside. Questions so far? Okay. It's going to get slightly more complicated. Let's see. Uh, okay. Okay, so if we're using paragraphs, then we need indentation. Okay, so now we have made it so that each line or each paragraph is a different person talking, right? So this paragraph is one person talking, and then for the next person, we switch paragraphs. But you'll notice, so that's why this is one paragraph. She is saying both things. Now, in real life, you would not see or you would not hear the speech tag, right? In real life, you would just hear somebody say, I'm going to attend a Taylor Swift concert. Are you going to? Right? You would not hear this part. But in writing, you do, if you want to add a speech tag, you have three options. You can, as we have been doing earlier, add it to the end of a sentence. Oh, sorry, there should be a period. Add it to the end of a sentence. You can add it to the beginning of a sentence. If you add the speech tag to the beginning of the sentence, you should separate the speech tag from the quotation using a comma. In Chinese, this is usually a colon, 冒号, but in English, it is always a comma. Or you can add the speech tag in the middle. Now, if you add the speech tag in the middle, you also have three options. If your quotation is more than one complete sentence, then you can add the speech tag to the end of the first sentence. You can add the speech tag to the beginning of the second sentence. Or if your quotation is only one complete sentence and you want to add your speech tag in the middle of that sentence, you have to do it like this, comma, comma. This is lowercase because the sentence, this is not a new sentence, right? The complete sentence is, did you say a Taylor Swift concert? Although I guess technically it should be a quotation within a quotation. Well, I'll talk about that soon. But this is interrupting the complete sentence. If you remember, a long, long time ago, I mentioned that if you have extra information in the middle of your sentence, you can use two commas to separate it from your main sentence and tell your reader this is extra information. That is exactly what's happening here. The main information is the quotation. The speech tag is extra information. So we separate it from the main sentence using two quotation marks. And once again, for no logical reason at all, this comma goes inside the quotation mark. So far, so good? Okay, now, if you have a quotation inside a quotation, like this, in this case, he is quoting her. She said, a Taylor Swift concert. He is confirming whether this is what she said. So he is quoting her as he talks. So this is a quotation inside a quotation. Now, in American English, your first layer of quotation is a double quotation mark. Inside a quotation, your second layer of quotation is a single quotation mark. If you have a third layer, it's back to double. Now, this comma, okay, so first of all, uh, her main speech is what did she say? Here, she is quoting the guy, right? He just said, say a Taylor Swift concert. So she's repeating him, say a Taylor Swift concert. And then in his speech, he is already quoting her. So this part is quoting herself from here. It's a quotation inside a quotation inside a quotation. Um, the first layer is double, the second layer is single, the third layer is double, and so on. Okay, now this is interesting. Why is this comma here and not all the way inside? We were talking about if it's a complete sentence, you put it inside. If it's separating the speech tag from the rest of the sentence, you put it inside. But here, um, you know what? Let's just put it inside. It's easier. I don't want to explain this. Yeah, in American English, you should always put it inside. But for other punctuation marks, it depends. So for example, here, before we've been putting the question mark inside, uh, we've been putting the exclamation point inside. So why is this outside of the single quotation mark? So if it's not a period, then we have to look at the logic of the sentence. The logic of the sentence is that this entire quotation is a question mark. So is a question. So the question mark goes inside the quotation mark because it's the entire quotation. This entire quotation is an exclamation. It's expressing excitement and joy. So the exclamation point goes inside the quotations. It's part of the main sentence. But here, this emotion belongs to the guy's speech. This is his emotion when he's talking, but it does not belong to the words that he's using from the girl. Does that make sense? Um, Here, he's just repeating her words. This part has no emotion. So the question mark, the exclamation point do not belong with this part of the quotation. It belongs with his entire quotation in general. OK，有听懂举手。Yeah，好，我用。Do you want me to use Chinese? Yeah，OK，好。所以就是除了句点跟逗点以外的标点符号，你要看这个句子本身的逻辑是怎样。所以，譬如说这一整句都是问题，所以问号跟着它走在一起。这一整句都是惊呼，所以这惊叹号跟它走在一起。可是这一个部分，它只是在引用女生讲过的话，这一段没有感情，没有情绪，情绪是跟着他整个发言，所以是放在大的引号里面。但是它小引号只是在重复女生讲过的话，这个部分没有情绪。Okay, if you understand, please raise your hand. Great. For the rest of you, take some time to digest, maybe go home and watch this part again. Okay, so we've been talking about complete sentences, but you don't have to have a complete sentence in order to use a quotation mark. Uh, okay, so let's continue with this story. Uh, so here, uh, now it's the author telling you what's happening. It's telling you about his emotions, and his emotions are related to the fact that she called him silly, right here, silly. So this, of course, is not a complete sentence. It's just one word. Um, Again, in American English, the period or comma always goes inside. But for everything else, you have to think about the logic. The question mark belongs to his question. It does not belong to her word. Uh, Same for other punctuation marks, like the semicolon. The semicolon connects two complete sentences that are related to each other. So these are two complete sentences. This is the subject, this is the verb, this is the rest of the sentence. Number two, no subject, 虚主词, empty subject. So in fact, this is the real subject. And then the verb, and then the rest of the sentence. So these are two complete sentences, and they are related to each other. So you can use a semicolon to connect them. Now, the logic of this sentence is the semicolon is a grammatical function that belongs to the main sentence. It is not related to the individual word that he's thinking about, right? This mark functions on the level of the sentence, not on the level of the individual word. Therefore, it goes outside of the quotation mark. I'm thinking if I forgot anything. Okay, there's one last thing to say. Okay, two things. So, first of all, I don't know if you've noticed, but English punctuation always follows a nearby word. There's no space here, right? It's attached to the previous word. It's just like another letter, no space. Same for periods, right? No space. It's attached to the previous word. But quotation marks are attached to the quotation from both sides. So the ending quotation mark is attached to the preceding quotation, and the beginning quotation mark is attached to the following quotation. So they attach to the middle. I say this because some students, when they handwrite an essay or a grammar exam, they attach the quotation mark in the wrong place. Another thing to say is some people don't know how to type a double quotation mark. This is a single quotation mark. This is a double quotation mark. To type a double quotation mark, press Shift and then quotation. Please do not give me two single quotation marks. This is two single quotation marks. Don't do that. Give me one double quotation mark. Okay. Some people have trouble calling out the opening quotation mark. They usually do something like this, and they're like, no, I want you have to have a space and then quotation, space and then quotation, and it will give you the opening quotation mark. If you don't have a space, it will give you the closing quotation mark. Right? Space, opening, no space, closing. Okay, one last thing to say. If you are using a speech tag to interrupt a sentence, you have so many places where you can put this. You can put it between the subject and the verb. You can put it between the verb and the object. You can put it between the object and everything else. And the grammar will be exactly the same. The difference is, how does it feel? In real life, again, you do not hear speech tags. So it doesn't matter where you put the speech tag, it all sounds the same. But when you read, it does make a difference. Where does the author make you pause? Where does the author make you wait for information? So for example, this one is, did you say, he confirmed, a Taylor Swift concert? Or you can put it between the subject and the verb. Did you, he confirmed, say a Taylor Swift concert? Uh, or you can move it to after the object. Yes, I did say a Taylor Swift concert, she agreed. Silly. So, like in this case, the insult silly would be more surprising, because when you get to this point, your sentence, the quotation is already a complete sentence. I think this is wrong. It's yeah, missing one. When you get to this point, your quotation is already a complete sentence, so the reader may not expect there to be more. And yet when they get to the end of the main sentence, there's another insult. So it's surprising, maybe it's a bit more powerful. In Chinese, we call this 回马枪. So where you put the speech tag doesn't make a lot of difference in terms of grammar, but it does make some difference in terms of how does the reader feel when reading the sentence. Okay, so that's quotations, direct quotations. After the spring break, we will talk about indirect quotations. Do you have questions? Edna? Yes. So if your quotation is a complete sentence, it should begin with a capital letter. Yes. So kind of like here, right? Why is this not a capital S? Because the sentence inside the quotation marks does not begin here. The sentence begins here. You are interrupting a complete sentence with a speech tag. Okay? So like here, um, let's return this to the more common, attach it to the previous. So here, this is a capital A because it is the start of a new sentence inside the quotation marks, right? This is a complete sentence. Therefore, if she keeps talking, it has to begin a new sentence. Okay. But thank you. You did remind me, I forgot to say one thing, which is today, like we use subject verb order, right? He laughed, she said, she asked. But if you read some older things, um, they will reverse this. It was said she or replied he. Means the exact same thing, no difference. It's just different ways of saying it. So like if you read something older, you might see the speech tag look like this. And it just means the same thing. Please do not get confused by this. Okay, questions? Other questions? Okay, if you don't have questions, let's go do some practice. Yay, the part you've been looking forward to. Page 18. Please add quotation marks, commas, periods, and question marks, and capital letters, 大写, when needed. How many is this? 8. I'll give you 5 minutes. While I was walking around, I got a very good question. Here's the thing. In Chinese, we also use quotation marks for emphasis, right? 加强. We do not do that in English. In English, if you want to emphasize a word, we use italics, 斜体, not quotation marks. Okay, question 1, 四号. Where would you put the quotation marks? So which part is the quotation? Do you smell smoke? So this is the quotation, right? So the first quotation mark is here, right? The second quotation mark is somewhere here, right? Is there something else in this space? So is this a question? It's a question, right? So there should be a question mark somewhere around here, right? Should we put the question mark first or the quotation mark first? Guess one. Okay, so the quotation is a question. Is the whole sentence a question? It's not, right? Alex says something. It's not a question. So the question mark belongs to the quotation, right? So you should put the question mark inside the quotation. So quotation mark, question mark, quotation mark, and then the end of the sentence. Period. Good, Julian, period. Good job. Okay, next one. Tony. So how would you punctuate the sentence? Quotation mark here, and then comma, quotation mark, and then, and then. Period, yes. End of the sentence, period. Good. So you can use a comma here, which means a period, or you can use an exclamation point, because something is burning is a very exciting sentence. So you could say quotation mark, something is burning, exclamation point, quotation mark, he said, period. Third one, Eliza. Quotation mark here, okay? Question mark? Good, something is capital S. Comma, and then quotation mark, and then period. Good. Again, if you want, you can change this comma after burning to an exclamation point if you want to emphasize something is burning, right? To make it more exciting. But good. The key point is this is two sentences. Do you smell smoke is one sentence, right? Subject is you. Do smell is the verb, and then smoke is the object. That's one sentence. Something is burning is another sentence. Something is the subject, is the verb, or sorry, is burning is the verb. That's it. Two complete sentences. You need to separate these two. The first one is a question mark. And therefore you make you begin the second sentence with a capital S. Good. Number 4, 曾小琪, quotation mark. Good, comma, and quotation mark. Period. Good. Quotation mark, the game starts at 7, comma, quotation mark. Rachel said, period. Good. Number 5, Lin Pingyan. So this is the quotation, right? This is the part that is said. Right. So we should begin with a quotation mark, maybe? Yes? Right? You begin a quotation with a quotation mark. Good. And we should end with another quotation mark, right? Good. Uh, Inside this quotation mark, do we add a comma? Okay, is it a question? No. So it should be a period, but it's not the end of the main sentence. So we add a comma instead. Okay. Finally, is this one sentence or is this 2 sentences? 2. Good. So here we should add a. Here we should add a. Maybe a period. Right. And so after the period, we need to change this into a capital W, right? Uppercase. Good. Okay. So quotation mark. The game starts at 7, period. Capital W. We should leave here at 6, comma, quotation mark. She said, period. Okay. Okay. Great. Now we have another option. These 2 sentences are related. So here you can add a semicolon, 分号, if you want. If you use a semicolon, you do not need to change the W. Number 6, 杜理优真. Question 6. We begin with a quotation mark. Good. What about here? What do we need here? Is this a question? Good. So we need a question mark, right? Anything else here? Another quotation mark. Good. It's the end of the quotation. Finally, we need a period. Good. At the end of the sentence. Yeah? Great. I'm sure you will do perfect on the midterm exam. Okay, I'll do the last 2 because we're almost out of time. Quotation mark. Actually, wait, I don't have to do it. I can. Where is it? I can show you. Number 7, quotation mark. The game starts at 7. We should leave here at 6. Can you be ready to leave then? Question mark, quotation mark. She said, period. Number 8, quotation mark. The game starts at 7, comma, quotation mark. She said, period. Quotation mark. We should leave here at 6, period. Can you be ready to leave then? Question mark, quotation mark. And remember to make these capital letters. Questions about this part? Okay, during the break, please do the rest of this page. So these 9, and we'll compare answers after the break. 陆正怡, question 1, please. How would you add punctuation to this sentence? So first of all, where does the quotation begin? Good, it begins here. So this is the quotation, right? Okay, so we need to add. Okay, yes, we do need a comma to separate the tag from the quotation, but to begin the quotation, we need to add a quotation mark. Good. So comma, quotation mark, and then do we need to change this? So is this a complete sentence? It is, right? So at the beginning of a complete sentence, you need to use a good capital M, right? And then at the end, we should add a a period. And then finally a quotation mark. Good. So this one looks like this. Mrs. Hill said, comma, quotation mark, capital M. My children used to take the bus to school, period, quotation mark. Number 2, Liu Zhenxing. Number 2. If you can't see clearly, you can come to the front. Where does the quotation begin? We. Good. So what should we do here? Comma after said. Good. And then we need a quotation mark, right? To begin the quotation. Right? So this is the quotation. We need to put it inside 2 quotation marks, right? 引号啦, right? Good. So comma to separate the speech tag from the quotation, and then a quotation mark. Do we need to change this? Good. How? Is this a complete sentence? It is, right? Therefore, at the beginning of a complete sentence, this should be good, capital W. Closer to the school. Okay, what do we add at the end? Period, and then and a quotation mark. Okay, period and quotation mark. Which one first? Period. Good. In American English, the period always goes inside the quotation mark. So number 2 looks like this. She said, comma, quotation mark, capital W. We move closer to the school, period, quotation mark. Number 3, Wang Jie. Quotation mark. Good. Okay. Quotation mark. Are you missing something? Comma, quotation mark, and then period. Good. And then there's one last thing. There's a comma here. The sentence begins with my children, right? The subject is my children. So this is something else. This is the time. So there should be a comma here. Okay, good. So quotation mark, now, comma, my children can walk to school, comma, quotation mark, Mrs. Hill said, period. Number 4, Liu Tong. Good. Quotation mark. After school, right? School, question mark, quotation mark, and then period at the end. Good. Quotation mark. Do you live near the school? Question mark, quotation mark. She asked, period. Number 5, 廖泽宏。泽宏，泽宏不见了。好，庄轩。Number 5. Quotation mark, comma, quotation mark, period. Good. Quotation mark, yes, we live 2 blocks away, comma, quotation mark. I replied, period. Number 6, 邓词 quotation mark, question mark, quotation mark. Yeah, and then it gives us a period, very kindly, very generous. Okay, so question mark, sorry. Quotation mark. How long have you lived here? Question mark, quotation mark. Number 7, Judy. Number 7, please. Wait, here? Are you sure? Where should we put the first quotation mark? We. Okay, so quotation mark before we've. What else? Comma before, right? So I said comma, quotation mark. And then? We lived here for how long we lived here, question mark. What else? Can't hear you. Okay, so first of all, should this be a capital W? We've lived here. Should this be a capital W? It should, right? So I said, comma, quotation mark, capital W. We lived here for 5 years. Should there be something here? Period, right? Okay. How many sentences is this? 2, right? So 5 years, period. And then capitalize the H, how? right? So the first sentence is here. We've lived here for 5 years. The second sentence is, how long have you lived here? So between these two, you need a period. And then the beginning of the second sentence is a capital H. And then at the end, question mark, quotation mark. Right? Good. Okay, next. Number 8. Alex. Yes. Quotation mark. Years, comma, quotation mark. Mrs. Hill said, you sure? Comma or period? After the word said. Okay, quick question. Is this a complete sentence? It is, right? So after said, we need a period. Good. And then quotation mark, capital H. How do you like living here? Question mark, quotation mark. Good. So quotation mark, we lived here for 2 years, comma, quotation mark. Mrs. Hill said, period. Quotation mark. Capital H. How do you like living here? Question mark. Quotation mark. And number 9, 郭继荣. 郭继荣. Yes, number 9, please. Quotation mark. It's a nice community. Are you sure? Comma. The sentence ends after said. So comma and then quotation mark. I said, period. And then capital I. Okay. What else? Quotation mark before it's, right? Okay, capital I. It's a good place to raise children. Period and quotation mark. Good. So the answer is quotation mark. It's a nice community, comma, quotation mark. I said, period, quotation mark, capital I. It's a good place to raise children, period, quotation mark. Questions about this page? Okay, moving on. Page 19. You can skip questions 1 to 3. We already did 1 to 3. Questions 4 to 6. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, so just to review, I will lead you guys to do 1 to 3. Number 1, Alex said, comma, quotation mark, capital D. Do you smell smoke? Question mark. quotation mark. Number 2, he said, comma, quotation mark, capital S, something is burning, period, quotation mark, or something is burning, exclamation point, quotation mark. Number 3, he said, comma, quotation mark, capital D, do you smell smoke, question mark, sorry, here, smoke, question mark, capital S, something is burning, period, quotation mark, or something is burning, exclamation point, quotation mark. Number 4, uh, the dog being held by Duri. What does the dog say? Number 4. You can translate for the dog. Comma, Rachel said, comma, and then quotation mark, okay? Capital T, good. The game starts at 7, period, and quotation mark, right? Good job, dog. Uh, Snoopy, great name. Love that name. Number 5, 蔡文静. She said, comma, quotation mark. Capital T, the game starts at 7. After 7, period, and then capital W, right? We should leave here at 6. You sure? Period, and then quotation mark. We put the period inside the quotation mark. Good. So this is she said, comma, quotation mark, capital T. The game starts at 7, period, capital W. We should leave here at 6, period, quotation mark. And number 6, Xu Zihan. She said, comma, quotation mark, capital T. The game starts at 7, period, capital W. We should leave here at 6, period. Capital C, can you be ready to leave then? Question mark, quotation mark. Good. Okay, questions about this part? All right, next part. Same thing, 11 sentences. I'll give you 10 minutes. Do you need 10 minutes? I don't think you need 10 minutes. I'll give you 7 minutes. Okay, question 1. 张同言. Comma, and then quotation mark. Good. And then capital T. There's an important meeting at 3 o'clock today. Period. And then quotation mark. Good job. Number 2. 张子英. 张子英在吗? Yes, number 2. Quotation mark. There's an important meeting at 3 o'clock today. Are you sure? It's a comma, right? And then quotation mark. And then she said, period. Good. So this is not the end of the sentence. So this is not a period. It's a comma. Okay, good job. Number 3, Björning. You just made it. Great. Question 3. Quotation mark. There is comma. Wait. Is there another quotation mark here? Right. So comma, quotation mark, said Millie, and then? Are you sure? Is there something here? Comma. Good. And then quotation mark. Because look, this is not a complete sentence, right? You have to add that there is. So we have a comma here and a comma here to tell us that this part in the middle is extra information. It's an interruption. Good. So said Millie, comma, quotation mark, an important meeting at 3 o'clock today, period, quotation mark. Good. So to recap, quotation mark, there is, comma, quotation mark, said Millie, comma, quotation mark, an important meeting at 3 o'clock today, period, quotation mark. Number 4, Lu Yixuan. Quotation mark, there is an important meeting today. Are you sure? How many sentences is this? 2. So this should be a period. Capital I, it's about the new rules. Are you sure? Comma. In American English, it is always the comma first. Comma, quotation mark, said Millie, period. Good. So quotation mark, there's an important meeting today, period. Capital I, it's about the new rules, comma, quotation mark, said Millie, period. Number 5, Wang Qi. Quotation mark, where is the meeting? Are you sure? Question mark, it's a question, right? And then quotation mark, Carl asked, period. Good. So quotation mark, where's the meeting? Question mark, quotation mark, Carl asked, period. Number 6, Wen Kaixiang. Robert replied, okay, before that, comma, good. Replied, comma, quotation mark. Capital I, it's in the conference room. Period. And quotation mark. Good. Robert replied, comma, quotation mark, capital I, it's in the conference room, period, quotation mark. Number 7, Wu Yihen. You mean quotation mark, right? Good. Quotation mark. How long will it last? Question mark. Quotation mark. Asked of the period. Good. Number 8. Lin Yixuan. Yes, number 8, please. Quotation mark. I don't know how long it will last. Are you sure? It should be a comma. Good. And then quotation mark, replied Millie. Period. Good. This is not the end of the sentence. So it should be a comma, not a period. Okay? Okay. Okay, good. Number 9. Milan. Quotation mark. I'll be a little late. Comma. Quotation mark, said Robert. Period. Quotation mark. I have another meeting until 3 p.m. today. Period. Quotation mark. Good. Number 10. 田季安。田季安在吗？好。Let's go to the next person. Our next caller. 张东燕。张东燕。No. Okay. 魏群茂。魏群茂。王佩琪。Number 10, please. Quotation mark. Who is speaking at the meeting? Question mark. Quotation mark. Asked Robert. Period. Good. Number 11. Kang Jingwei. Yes. Quotation mark. I am not sure who is speaking. Okay, something before the quotation mark? Well. This is still the same sentence. So this is input in the middle of the sentence. So it's not a period, it's should be a comma, right? Because the sentence is not over. So comma, quotation mark, said Millie, and then the sentence still is not over. So this should be a comma. Good. And then well, it's the same sentence. So first you need a quotation mark. Good. But you'd better be there. Okay, so this is the end of the sentence. So this should be a period. The whole sentence is, I'm not sure who's speaking, but you'd better be there. It's one sentence. So period here, and then capital E, everybody is supposed to be there, period, and quotation mark. Quotation mark, good, okay. So just to make sure you know what I'm talking about, it's this one. I am not sure who is speaking, comma, quotation mark, said Millie, comma, right? 2 commas here. But you'd better be there, period, capital E. Everybody's supposed to be there, period, quotation mark. Okay? Yes, so these 2 words are the only part of this sentence that is not inside quotation marks. Everything else is something that Millie says. And so the question then becomes, how do you separate what she says into separate sentences? And the answer is The first sentence ends here, therefore the second sentence begins here. Okay? Okay, good. Questions about this page? Other questions about this page? All right, page 20. There are 5 sentences. Please add punctuation. You do not, well, do you have to? Yes, you also have to think about capital letters and lowercase letters. So same thing. I'll give you 5 minutes. You only have to look at the numbered parts, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3, and then number 4 and number 5. The other parts are fine. Number 1, 李凯成。李凯成在吗？ Yes, question 1. We begin with a quotation mark, right? So this whole thing is a quotation except for this part. So we begin with a quotation mark in hall. Yeah? Okay. You are so slow. There's a comma here. Mr. period. And then turtle should be capital T because it's the name of the turtle. Mr. Turtle. Yeah? So there's a comma here because Mr. Turtle, these two words, are not part of the grammar of the sentence, right? You is the subject, R is the verb, so slow is everything else. Mr. Turtle is extra. So there's a comma here to separate the main sentence from the extra information. Okay, and then after Mr. Turtle, we have yes, a comma, and then quotation mark, right? Good. Said the rabbit, comma, good, because the sentence continues. It's not a new sentence. Comma, and then a quotation mark, right? This goes back into the quotation. So quotation mark, and I am very fast, period, and then one last quotation mark. Okay? Okay, good. Number 2, 张良. Quotation mark. I don't know about that. Comma. Quotation mark. Said the turtle. Are you sure? Is this a complete sentence? I don't know about that. Is this a complete sentence? I is the subject. Don't know is the verb. And then about that is everything else. So it is a complete sentence. It is. So this should be a period. Good. And then quotation mark. Capital L. Let's have a race. Exclamation point. Good idea. Let's have a race. Okay, exclamation point. And then capital W, we will run for 5 miles and see who wins. Period. Quotation mark. Good. So let's have a race. You could have an exclamation point or you could have a period. Either one is fine. Good. Number 3. 林庭真，林庭真在吗？ Number 3, please. Quotation mark. I agree. Are you sure? Comma. Quotation mark. Said the rabbit. Period. Good. Yes. So I agree is not the end of the sentence. So it's a comma. Or if you want to make the rabbit very agreeable and energetic, you can say, I agree! Exclamation point, said the rabbit. Either one is fine. Number 4, 张婉琪. 张婉琪在吗? Yes, number 4, please. 等，婉琪. You don't have a handout, right? 没有讲义嘛，对不对? Okay, that's okay. I'll get back to you next week. It's fine. So 陈宇宁在吗? 庄丽君, 张子晴, 张子晴? No. Su Mingyao? Yes, number 4, please. Quotation mark. I am so far ahead of the turtle. Can't hear you. Period. Okay. I'm going to take a little nap right here. Period. Are you sure? Okay, it's a trick question. Is there a speech tag? In this sentence, does it say like the rabbit said? No, right? So the whole thing is one quotation. Right? There's no speech tag. The whole thing is one quotation. So a little nap right here, period, and then capital I, right? New sentence. It is going to take a long time before that turtle can catch up with me. And then period and quotation mark. Good. And then question 5, 谢子妮. Okay, I called everyone, so I'm going to answer question 5. Quotation, if I'm answering it, I can just show you. Here. So the first part is not a quotation. It's part of the story. Trick question. Exclaimed, comma, quotation mark. Slow but steady wins the race, exclamation point. Capital W. Who's laughing now? Comma, Mr. Rabbit, capital R. And there's a period after Mr. And then question mark, quotation mark. Another possible answer is slow, comma, but steady, comma. And this makes but steady extra information. Either one is fine. Questions about this page? Yes. Number 1, as here, quotation mark, you are so slow, comma, Mr. Turtle, Mr. has a period, turtle is capital T, comma, quotation mark, said the rabbit, comma, and, so it's the same sentence. It's the same sentence, right? And. So this is a comma. I am very fast, period, quotation mark. Yes. Originally, you would put the quotation mark here, right? But we have extra information. He's talking to the turtle. So this is extra information. We use 2 commas to tell the reader this part in the middle is extra information. Okay, good. Other questions about this page? All right, homework. Please do pages 21, 22, 23, and 24. See you next week.